Hello and welcome back for another video on Ark Survival Ascended and to another modded creature showcase, where I will be showcasing 5 brand new creature mods that have released in the past few weeks. And there has been some right bangers, as I always say. One in particular I am extremely excited about checking out, which just released a few days ago, which is on screen right this second. So be sure to watch the video closely and be on the lookout for the 2 giveaway codes which will show up somewhere in the video. And please do comment down below if you are lucky enough to find one. Anyway, all creature mods can be played cross-platform. 4 of the mods are free and 1 is premium. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking things off, we have the Tanniwosaurus, which is part of the Kami's Feral Critters pack which released last week, which of course comes from Scorching Kami. It is a free mod that adds a beautiful selection of creatures and dinosaurs to your world, with our first one being the Tanniwosaurus, which is an aquatic creature bearing similarities to the Mosasaurus in appearance, but is a lot smaller, spawning around most parts of the ocean, most commonly in the deeper parts. However, it does spawn in the shallower parts of the ocean too on most maps. A very simple tame, which is tamed similar to the Equus but underwater. Preferring simple kibble from your final hotbar slot, the taming method appears to be bugged at the moment, where no matter how hard you try, you can never ride it after the initial feed. I understand it, there's always going to be a few kinks to iron out with new mods, so fingers crossed this will get fixed soon. Once it does, it can be saddled up at a low level of 15, which is lovely. It is always nice to see some more early game aquatic creatures come to the game. The Tanniwosaurus is a great traversal mount, having a relatively fast swimming speed and decent stats for its size. When sprinting toward the surface at the right angle, it can launch itself into the air just like a dolphin. It can also make its way to land if that is something you wanted to do, which is very cool, gotta love that. Added to its traversal capabilities, it has a dash ability which can be performed when pressing the secondary attack button, but does have a small cooldown respectively. This can even be used to yeet yourself into oblivion, when paired with diving out of the water like a dolphin. Not sure if this is intentional, but damn, it's a lot of fun. Look at me go. See ya. So I think we've gathered that this is now the best traversal mount in the game. Maywing, eat your heart out? Well, maybe that's a slight over-exaggeration. Moving on to its attacks, it has a regular bite attack, dealing minimal damage, but as expected, it is more of a lover than a fighter anyway, so we weren't expecting it to be a unit. But to be honest, it is pretty decent damage for its size. Also having a tertiary attack, which consists of a triple bite that deals less damage than the regular bite and does have a small cooldown. It does have some more unique utility going its way, where it can scan for deep sea loot crates, which is awesome, but unfortunately this feature is also bugged. But it is stated in the mod description that this is a known issue and Kami is working on a fix for it. There is also a second variant of Tanni, known as the Dwarf, which is basically a baby version of it, which consists of a taming method similar to the Otter, where you need to kill fish and drag it to feed it passively. Once tamed, acts as a shoulder pet and also offers amazing utility in the form of a taming aid, where it is said to drain the food of nearby wild creatures slightly quicker when emoting. I used the clap emote in this instance, and there was definitely something going on which looks really cool, but I must admit I didn't really notice the food stat dropping any quicker. It does also seemingly offer the same abilities as the Otter too. It can carry more than one of the same artifact inside its inventory, and does also appear to give the same installation buff. The Tanniwosaurus is a right beauty and adds some much needed life into Ark's oceans. Up next is another gem from Kami's Feral Creatures mod, which is the Titanophonius, which is a large predator sharing similar stats to the Rex, more tankier but deals less damage. You'll find it spawning around the grasslands and redwoods on most maps, Scorched Earth's Badlands and Aberration's Green Zone. In the wild, it is territorial, so it will only attack once in close proximity. It is, however, tamed passively, kind of in a unique way, where you need a dodo egg in your final hotbar slot to passively feed, which will initiate the taming process. After doing so, you'll then need to feed it live dodos to snack on. You'll need to pick up the dodos, approach and stand nearby to it, where it will straight up snatch the dodo out of your hands. No need to interact with it or anything like that, and just rinse and repeat the process until it is tamed. Once tamed, the saddle is unlocked at level 60, and for such a chunky boy, it is relatively fast and very maneuverable, having a very nice turning radius, so are pretty decent traveling mounts. In terms of attacks, it has a directional bite attack, which deals decent damage, and due to it being an omnivore, is great for harvesting berries, meat, fiber, and other collectibles. A secondary grab attack, which states in the mod description that when using the primary attack on a grabbed target, will become a Ferrazino-style pierce damage, and upon killing the grabbed target, will grant it a good portion of lost health, which depends on the creature's own health. Its tertiary attack consists of a maul/pounce attack, which is said to deal slightly more damage, knockback, and requires more stamina to perform, but this attack does not seem to be present as of now. More abilities include a Terror Roar, which as expected works similar to the Uterana's Fear Roar, where it can scare away smaller creatures. It can also sit down to receive a small healing buff, which is similar to the Megatherium and Calicotherium, I do believe. Oh, so cute. The saddle offers a passenger seat for a friend where both the rider and passenger can wield their weapons when mounted, but also gives a very useful perk to the passenger, where wild creatures cannot attack the passenger while in the saddle, which is said to be only bypassed by ridden creature direct attack types. Another really cool thing about the Titanophonius is the different variants and differences between each. The Aberrant being a much smaller variant on the right, the regular in the middle, and on the left we have the Scorch variant, which is clearly much larger and has some really cool hairdo going on. It is definitely my favorite variant of the three. It looks absolutely beautiful. Speaking of variants, you can also encounter the Mighty Alpha variant on your travels, which can be killed for a couple of lovely cosmetic skins for your Titanophonius. How awesome is that? Lovely jubbly. Speaking of awesome mods, let me introduce you to the TBS server cluster. They have both PvE and PvP no-wipe server clusters, both having boosted rates with PvE featuring a long list of TBS mods and plugins, giving players a fun and immersive experience. If joining the PvP cluster, you'll be safe from harm with offline raid protection throughout the weekdays. Not only that, but they offer custom caves, huge cash dollar prizes, and many more exciting features to sink your teeth into. What's not to like? If you are interested in joining and finding out more, their Discord servers are linked in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. Now let's get right back to the video. Next up is our third and final creature from the Kami's Feral Creatures pack, which is the Karupi, stated to be a small Abelisaur. I've never even heard of that one before, but anyway, you'll find it commonly spawning in the redwoods, on the beaches and grasslands on most maps, the badlands on Scorched Earth, and the green zone on Aberration. So regarding the taming method, this one is a very unique method. Similarly to the Titanophonius, to initiate taming, you'll need to passively feed it any type of meat from your final hotbar slots, wait and follow it around until it performs an animation, where a minigame will begin. A sequence of dinosaur icons are visible on screen behind the creature. You'll need to follow the button prompts of 2 sets of 3 icons to increase the taming bar, and it does take a little bit of practice. So the icon where the dino is stood up roaring, you'll need to press the primary attack button, aka left click or right trigger on controller. The icon of the dino looking down with its bum up in the air, you'll need to hit the alternate attack button, aka right click or the left trigger on controller. And the icon where the dino is appearing to use a stomp, you'll need to hit the prone button, aka X on keyboard or hold right analog stick on controller. Every time it walks up to you and performs the first animation, you feed it meat from your final hotbar slot and just rinse and repeat the process until it is tamed. I did also test out feeding it raw mutton and extraordinary kibble after the first initial feed of basic raw meat, and these seem to improve taming efficiency much more than basic meat. But I do think the taming process is a little bit glitchy, as at one point it said the taming bar was at 150%, which is something I've never seen before in the game. Anyway, once tamed, it can be saddled up at a low level of 15. The Karupi is a great traversal land mount, having an exceptional sprint speed, but comes into its own with its abilities, and has some very nice tricks up its sleeve. When pressing the alternate attack, it will go into a sneak mode. This is said to act like cactus broth, but better, making it very difficult for wild creatures to spot you. It also has a cute sitting animation, which also gives it a small healing buff, and yes, it does also have a primary bite attack, which will probably scratch its enemies at best. But its coolest ability is by far the Honk, which will initiate a pacify minigame when nearby to dangerous large predators. Once you honk, you'll see the same 3 icons behind the creature, and your Karupi can get its groove on, which in turn entertains the predator enough to not make it want to eat it. I really love this ability, and it was a very pleasant surprise. I don't think I've ever seen anything else like this in the game before, and it's really cool, especially considering the Karupi is technically a starter creature, so if you run into any of these dangerous threats on the Ark, maybe you're trying to tame something nearby, or just out gathering a few bits of bobs and you don't have the ability to take it out, you may as well try and befriend them, right? And just like the Titanophonius, it comes in 3 different variants, and in 3 different sizes too. A standard variant, an aberrant variant, and finally a scorched variant, which once again looks stunning. Also slightly larger than the other 2, and look how fluffy it is. Oh, so cute. The Curipee might actually be one of my favorite modded creatures I've checked out in a while, and will definitely make a welcomed addition to your world. Like, how awesome are these dance animations though? They're just so cute. Our 4th mod on the list is going to be Crystal Wyverns regraded from Eclipse Draconic. This is a new mod that brings the Crystal Wyvern back to life and into our worlds in Ark Survival Ascended, but not as we know them back in Survival Evolved. These have been upgraded, receiving some much welcome TLC and quality of life features. It states in the mod description that for any maps with a Wyvern trench, these Crystal Wyverns will spawn alongside the vanilla variants of Poison, Fire and Lightning, etc., and are aggressive and can only be tamed via stealing their eggs from nests. I saw a nest with a package on top, and once I got close it disappeared, so I'm still yet to see a nest with an egg in it. However, on maps without a Wyvern trench, they have a neutral temperament. The Tropical Wyvern can be found around the beaches, and the Sulfur Fields on Extinction, Blood Wyverns found in the swamps, and Ember Wyverns found in lava biomes, and on Extinction in the Desert Dome Mountains, or found in the Redwoods on other maps. The neutral Crystal Wyverns are tamed the same way as their vanilla counterparts, where you need to knock them out, and once asleep, hold the action button to obtain primal crystals. Stick those in your final hotbar slot, and once you find the one you want to tame, I like to grapple to its neck and Netflix and chill while shoving crystals straight up its bum to tame it passively. Regular crystal can also be used to tame them at a much worse taming efficiency. I definitely wouldn't recommend using that unless you play on ridiculously boosted rates, and repeat the process until tamed. Once tamed, they pretty much share the same qualities of the vanilla Crystal Wyverns from ASE, being smaller than a regular Wyvern, while being slightly faster and having a better turn radius over their vanilla counterparts. These beasts have been given the ability to dive and swoop like the Griffin, and damn are they fast. They are so satisfying to use. Each Wyvern variant has received a little bit of TLC regarding their appearance, which includes unique color sets with full crystal adornments, sharing the same attacks too, having a primary bite attack great for harvesting meat, hide and other collectibles. The Blood Wyvern can harvest blood packs from carcasses, which I do believe is new, a flap attack to knock back targets, or to harvest a bit of wood, thatch, cactus sap and charcoal, etc., and secondary breath attacks, which all work the same as the vanilla versions, but there is a few differences too. Each Wyvern receives their own passive buffs, where they receive 15% extra damage, 20% movement speed, and 25% health regeneration. The Tropical Wyverns will occur when touching water, and will last for 45 seconds upon leaving the water. This is also constant whenever it rains on the map, which I thought was really cool. The Ember works the same way, but for lava. The Ember Wyvern will also receive a healing buff when in contact with lava or fire-based attacks, and it heals really quickly, pretty much like the Phoenix does when hit with fire attacks. And finally, the Blood Wyvern's passive occurs only at night time, and will also last for 45 seconds after night ends. It is a lovely mod, and I know a lot of us miss the Crystal Wyverns from Survival Evolved, and it is still up in the air as to when or if we will actually see Crystal Isles in Ascended, so this mod will do nicely until then. And I am absolutely in love with their colours. They really are super pretty. We move on to a whole different breed of flyer with this next entry. This is the creature I have been highly anticipating for what feels like years now. Oh yes, the Hatzegopteryx enters the chat, and in striking fashion. There is now a new Lord of the Skies. This one comes from Tweeziz and the Hatzegopteryx team, which is a premium mod and will set you back a sum of $5 US. And forgive my puns, but hats off to everyone who brought this creature to life, as I do really hope that the wildcard devs are taking notes for the Quetzal TLC, because the entire design, the look, the abilities of the Hatzegopteryx are many features I believe the Quetzal should adopt. These beasts are a rare spawn similar to the Quetzal, and will spawn around mountainous regions on all maps, minus Aberration of course. Numerous variants can spawn, one by default being Ziphius's version, who also has their own separate mod for the Hatzegopteryx, which we've checked out on the channel before. Love that mod too, by the way. So it's really cool to see that they have both collaborated here with the premium version from Tweeziz. Anyway, there is also a Paleo version, which requires the Paleo Ark Ascension mod to be installed for it to spawn, and also an Arkology variant, which requires the Arkology new encounters to be installed, and all variants look absolutely stunning in their own right. So to tame one, you firstly need to kill one and grab the trophy from its death cache. But maybe you'll want to grab 2 or more while you're at it, as these can be attached to a trophy wall mount, which is awesome. Anyway, back to the taming process. Once locating your Hatzegopteryx you want to tame, drop the trophy on the ground, which will then lure the Hatzegopteryx down to land, where it will want to challenge the survivor. You will be notified at the top of your screen that you are drawing the ire of a nearby Hatzegopteryx. It will then become super angry, accepting your challenge with a terrifying roar like nothing you've ever seen before. Oof! Look how intimidating this thing is, man. This is how I wish the Quetzal was in game. This is the perfect method for one, as I've always wanted the Quetzal to alternate between flying high up in the sky and coming down to land to feed, etc, etc. Anyway, this is where you'll fight it one-on-one, either on foot if you're an absolute beast, or while using a ridden tamed creature for best results. Once it drops below 50% of its health, you will then be notified that it has become exhausted. Mount it to prove your worth. This is when a mini-game begins, where you need to follow the button prompts on screen, which will improve the taming effectiveness until it is fully tamed. It's actually a really easy thing to tame, and I am a big fan of this taming method for a large flyer like the Hatzegopteryx. It is a late game flyer, and once tamed has 2 different saddles to choose from. A regular saddle unlocked at level 92, and also a jetpack saddle dubbed the Air Superiority Saddle, unlocked at level 98. Oh, but would you look at that? It really is a thing of beauty. Let's hope the Quetzal receives as much love and care that this guy has received during its grueling development process. That stance is super imposing and absolutely terrifying. Oh, I love it. It shares similar stats to the Quetzal respectively, has a fast sprinting speed, better maneuverability, and can dive and swoop through the air like it just don't care, making it the perfect mount in exploring whatever map you are playing. Well, unless you're playing Aberration, then you'll be needed to move on out to enjoy this beast. But the flight sounds, the animations, it sounds so powerful when flapping its massive wings. It's really nice to see. It also has a nice selection of attacks and abilities at its disposal, a hefty primary bite attack, a secondary stomp attack when landed, with the stomp dealing slightly more damage, better DPS, and knockback. When airborne, as expected, it has the capability to pick up a wide variety of creatures in its talons when pressing and holding the secondary attack button. This also includes flyers. How crazy is that? Never did I think I'd see the day where a wyvern was being carried by another flyer, but here we are, just picking them up like a feather. It can attack the target in its talons, and when the target is low on health, can perform a unique execution finisher-like attack, which can be done while pressing and holding the primary attack button, which deals massive damage and basically eats the creature whole. I did also notice that with small to medium creatures, it actually keeps the carcass in its mouth after, which is amazing attention to detail, and of course hitting the attack button again will consume the carcass. It also has its own sit option and animation, which is so cool. Oh, so cute. I feel like I've said that a lot in this video, but it really is. I absolutely love everything about it. Speaking of love, let's talk about the jetpack saddle. Look at me go. Oh yes, this thing will make you untouchable when airborne. Gasoline element or element imbued gasoline can also be used to power it, with gasoline being the cheapest but least efficient fuel source. I could safely say that there is no other flyer in the game that gives me the same satisfaction than the Hatzegopteryx does when using this jetpack saddle. You can even still dive while boosting through the air with all that wind in your hair. It's so much fun. Think Tropia Natha but better. Not only that, but the player will not be dismounted when slamming into water, and is more than a capable swimmer. I was about to ask if there was anything this thing cannot do, but I finally found something. They hate being next to each other, and will receive a debuff known as uncooperative when in close proximity to any allied Hatzegopteryx, which is stated to stack up to a whopping 10 times, and last for 60 seconds per stack, where damage is massively reduced, and damage taken is increased. So basically, the more allied Hatzegopteryx in the area, the weaker they become. So it is a solitary creature, and is a beautiful one at that, and easily my new favorite flyer in the game. I do believe that they do plan on adding a platform saddle too later down the line, so I cannot wait to see that. And that is going to be the end of the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it or found it helpful in any way, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share around, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care, goodbye.